Okay, I think we're recording, Korey. So
Well, we're 2 hours into the conversation, so it's about time to hit that button.
we are. This is not the normal podcast. Let me do the intro here. Hello and welcome to the show. Today we're joined by Korey Lofy of ArborJet, and of course Discovering Forestry Podcast. Which, Korey, you're a podcasting god, and I feel quite intimidated to have you here. How are you?
I'm good, Graeme, but I am not a god. I'm just a humble, happy arborist at the moment. But
That's a good thing.
I love your show. I look forward to the content you put out, and I'm excited for that cadence to pick up because I think there's value. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me today. I think probably this conversation is going to be a little bit different to what I expected the conversation to be for most guests. But like you said before, right, couple of guys hanging around a campfire, having a chat. I think that would be really cool as a pre-Christmas, end of 2025 show.
Yeah, wrap it up, and let's have some fun. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, with that in mind, I'm going to ask you that first question that I ask everybody else. And I'm expecting a curveball from you, like you said. So, in your opinion, what separates tree service companies that succeed and thrive from those that are just surviving?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it actually, I would answer that question by saying, how are those companies verbalizing and defining success? So in my current role, I get to work with literally thousands of tree services and landscape companies out there, and everybody defines success a little bit different. So if there's a dollar amount that people are chasing and that they're going after, $1 million tree service, and then I'll be happy, and then we'll have it together. Great, go and get it. But when I look at it, and what I look at what a successful company would mean to me is having the freedom to work when I want to work for whom I want to work. So I don't know if that's an inline answer with what you were thinking, but I think everybody's got to find out for themselves what success looks like, and then go get it.
So it's not just financial.
No. I mean, out of all these businesses that I'm working with, there are some that are very, I mean, you're in business, right? You're in business for reasons. One of them is probably to provide an income for your family, to make money. But there's so much more to life. I mean, if you would have asked me this question 6-7 years ago, I no doubt would have said, yep, get to $1 million, get to 10 million, get to 30 million, sell. Guaranteed. But now I kind of look at things like, well, what if I could get all the work I need done in a day done by noon, and then take the afternoon to go mountain bike or to go ski? Or something that I'm exploring lately is putting the phone onto do not disturb mode or leaving it in the truck over the weekend. And it feels so good.
Sounds like you're getting old. Sorry. You sound like me.
and maybe I am, but maybe I'm also just gaining perspective.
Yes.
Right? Because whatever your financial goal is, and for a lot of millennials or Gen Zs out there that are listening to this, you're probably going to hit it. You're probably going to hit your financial goal. It's going to come sooner, and then you're going to go, well, what else? And for me, just in the last 3 years now, I have 2 kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old, and I love climbing trees. Sure, I love helping the businesses that I'm working with grow their business. But man, do I love being home, and I love being present, and that's kind of what it's all about, And I understand that not everybody who listens to this show is a business owner or manager, or some people probably don't even have a desire to do that. So you work your 40 hours or 60 hours or whatever. What are you doing outside of that? Because that's what's going to define you, right?
I love that. And I kind of live the same ideals, I'm old enough that I've done okay so far in my life. And I feel like I could work 15 hours a day chasing as much money as I could. But on the other hand, being a rock climber and ice climber, just getting outside, having those experiences on the weekend, and now my new scuba diving hobby as well. It's like success is being able to do those things and actually take a break from work.
Yeah, when you want, within reason.
When you want.
So I didn't know PADI. So are you PADI certified for scuba diving?
I'm starting to be. Yes.
Good for you. Good
it's
for
my
you.
new thing. Yes. Being up here in Canada, I'm doing the cold water diving as well. It's freezing.
So funny thing about that is I took scuba diving in college as one of my physical education credits.
Cool.
And it was a fall semester thing, and our certification dive was like in December in a rock quarry in northern Wisconsin. They're chipping away ice just to let us go down.
Sounds like we should do a live podcast on a lake somewhere.
We should.
That would be cool.
My partner Joe Aiken would love to do that with us. He would love to do that.
Let's hook that up for sure. 2026 coming at you live. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm sure I have this impression in my brain that everybody who listens to this, all 5 people, know who you are. But for those who don't, tell us about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Korey Lofy, as you mentioned. I grew up in southeastern Wisconsin, so that's somewhere between Milwaukee and Chicago, in a little town called Lake Geneva. My first job, I think it was right before my 13th birthday, I called up the local nursery and greenhouse, and my dad's a middle school science and PE teacher, and he had the whole family went through his program years ago, and I called up the owner of the greenhouse and I said, "Hi, my name is Korey Lofy. I'd like a summer job just to learn a little bit about plants, trees, whatever you got." I ended up working there every summer and weekend up until about college, and I loved it. I was always learning something. When I wasn't working at the greenhouse, especially as somebody going into 7th grade, I think it was, when I wasn't working there, I would be working at a farm, either milking cows or just working. I was hanging out. I wasn't really working a lot of the time, because they were showing me how to run pieces of equipment, different skid steers, telehandlers, things like that. But I loved it. I wanted. And this was so much fun, especially somebody who's 7th, 8th grade through high school, learning how to run all this big stuff. And I remember picking a college was funny. I ended up going to the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point, and I just wanted natural resources. I thought I was going to be a wildlife biologist or a park ranger or something. And I remember the part of the admissions was you picked your major. And I was going through the list, and I kind of asked the individual who was helping. Her name was Sue. I asked her if she could kind of spell out what some of these things were, like a fisheries major. What do they actually do? And long story short, she got to the forestry part. She said, "Well, forestry, trees. What do you think about that?" So I love trees. Let's do it. And from there, man, just love those classes: tree physiology, pathology, plant pathology. I just loved it. And during summer breaks in college, one summer I traveled to Jackson Hole to work as a tour guide. So I lived in a tent on a river.
Oh, cool.
Oh, it was one of the greatest summers of my life.
Huh.
Just lived like an absolute dirtbag, and I loved it. I would shop only like the clearance section of the grocery store in the back. I was paid in cash. I had all my money put into a dry bag, like tucked in the bottom of my suitcase. But I love that. But what I realized is I probably don't want to be somebody that's giving the same interpretive talk day in and day out like I did for that 3-4 month summer. So the next summer I ended up working in Virginia as, you could call it an apprentice, but a ground worker, somebody who drag brush. And then I think about 5 or 6 weeks in, they actually had me in a saddle up a tree. But I loved it. Other than the humidity, I loved it. So did that for a summer. ended up finishing school, picked up a couple majors. And when I graduated, my now wife and I decided that we just wanted to go ski. So we moved to Colorado. She became a ski instructor, so teaching new people how to ski, and I became a ski coach, teaching people that could already ski just how to do a little bit better. And from there, we spent the next summer in Alaska doing tours again. We swore we'd never do it, but Alaska was calling.
Nice. I've been there. I love Alaska.
Oh, it's amazing.
What a place.
It's wild. I think I'm supposed to
Yes.
say it's wild.
Yeah.
But the thing about that lifestyle is you're very tip dependent. So if the customer's satisfied, you're coming home with a pocket of cash, you feel good. But there, it rains in Juneau. It rained literally every day, but about 6 of them for a full summer. So long story short, moved back down to the lower 48. I started working for a tree service company in Minnesota. I ran a bucket for them, climbed a little bit, fed the chipper, and then I got into sales, Graeme. And this is where my career took a different path. It went from like seasonal and extreme, the extremes, right? Extreme river guiding, and then extreme tree climber, bucket operator, if bucket operators can be extreme. And
some of the ones I've seen are pretty extreme.
As I said that, I was thinking, you know what? I've met a couple that are pretty cool.
There's a guy in a ditch up the road today.
No kidding? Is he working around power lines?
I hope not.
Yeah, that's extreme. But anyhow, I got into the sales side of things because the company that I had interviewed with was asking questions about insects, diseases, stuff like this, and I started to have a little bit of an interest. I was like, yeah, I remember that from university. And they said, well, you're a little young to be in sales. Do you think this is something that you want to try? And man, that first sales call I went on with the sales manager. I tanked it. Oh, I was so nervous. It was just, I walked the site. I measured trees because I knew how to do that, but I had no sales training. I didn't know what this person expected. I didn't know what my new manager expected. And I data vomited on the guy. Just,
I'm curious though. Why did you even want to try sales from the other side of things, which you obviously loved?
It's more job security, the potential for more job security, an increase in pay, and better on my body.
Got it.
And as I think I was probably about 25 or 26 when that occurred. Actually, I could tell you I was 26 because I had just had a conversation with my dad, and he asked, "So what are you going to do for insurance?" And, what? So sales at this company was or is a year-round position, and it's generally well compensated once you can build a territory. And they start you off with a little segment, a small existing client base, and then you build it. And long story short, with that company over the course of 2 years, I was able to take this slightly existing territory of like, man, it did like 100,000 in sales a year, whatever the number was. And without any winter storms, I was able to bring it in 2 years to about 600,000.
Wow.
It became fun. It became a game again, and it became exciting.
Yeah.
And it became one of, all right, how do we recognize the opportunity? And then how do we go out there and protect these trees? Or what's all going to be involved to remove these trees? And I just had fun with it, man. I did. I loved it.
I'm curious. It's a little bit of a tangent here. With your experience in sales and your knowledge of sales and your knowledge of the tree industry as well, do you see any deficiencies in the way tree service companies are selling their services?
Yeah.
I'm curious from your perspective how that would look.
So there are two. It's a great question. There are two major trends that I've observed, especially in these last half a dozen years, and that's either right. You can either own it up and say, "Hey, I'm in business, and to sell business, we've got to have somebody in sales that knows what they're talking about. How do they communicate? How can they make it happen? Or there's some people that look at that part of the business and just go, oh, that's for somebody else. We're not in sales. I'm not in sales. I just want to do trees. The other way I would look at answering this question is probably some sales reps go out there and some businesses go out there and the customer will say, hey, I want a quote to have this tree removed. And where I see a lot of tree services do a great job is they can provide a quote to have that thing removed and they can email it to you tonight or tomorrow. But what so many companies don't do, and where this makes a difference between the successful companies and the ones that are not as successful, they're not looking for any additional opportunities. Graeme, so if you called me out to remove that spruce tree or whatever, I'd probably look at it and go, assuming it's not, in absolute dire need of removal, I'd probably ask the homeowner, well, why do you want it removed? And the homeowner might say something like, well, it's got this bug or whatever. Oh, okay. Well, would you like to save this tree? Is there value that you can bring the homeowner by saving this tree? And when they say, yeah, absolutely, I'd love to save this one and all the other ones, but the other tree guys or the other tree people I've had out here say we have to remove it. Well, that's because they might not be aware what's causing it to die or how to prevent the other ones from dying. So right there, you just established credibility. Right. You just saw opportunity. You positioned yourself as an authority. And that's how you take just an estimate for a removal and build a client list. But you've got to educate yourself on those opportunities and then play detective. And if you just went up there and just started, as I was telling you earlier, I just did data vomit on that first person I went to. Oh, emerald ash borer. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then the guy goes, well, I need the tree removed because, I'm building an addition.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I guess you did just want a removal quote.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So anyhow, but
it's hilarious.
And that's the business to consumer. That's the B2C. So I did that role, and I think that's probably going to resonate with a lot more of the listeners than the role I've been doing ever since then. Is I've been doing B2B, so business to business. So business to business, way different way of doing sales. But man, if sales is, in so many people's minds, a 4-letter word, but if you don't look at it as I'm trying to sell you something, and if your heart isn't, hey, Graeme, I need to sell you this so that I can make an income. If you look at it more of you have a problem, how can I solve it? How can I fix it? What's the problem? What's the solution? And if you genuinely care about people and solving that problem, sales is easy.
I've heard that.
I
haven't had that experience myself. I am the worst sales guy in the world. But
Graeme, but I bet you're the greatest because you've gotten thousands of people a week to listen to your show and hundreds of thousands of people to click on your links and to call you looking for your business. I bet you've done. You're great. I bet you're better than you think. You're better. The
podcast really helps, actually, I'm sure you're well known, with your own podcast there. It's really interesting to. It's not a sale, but it's interesting to get information like what you just said out to other people who want it and don't know where to get it from, and maybe it just gives them a little idea of how to proceed. So I kind of took you off tangent a little bit, but I think the way you answered that question was amazing. Opportunities in someone's yard, they want to get rid of the tree, but you've got 5 or 6 other things that you can see if you know about it that can help them further, right?
Yeah, and that's really how you build a business. And then part of and this brings us back to part of question 1 is what makes it a successful tree service? And a lot of tree services will have a value assigned to them, not based on how much work they complete in a year necessarily, but how much recurring revenue they can make. So if you're out there to remove a tree, there's a lot of overhead with equipment, with personnel, a lot of logistics that go into the day-to-day. And your reoccurring revenue, if you remove a tree, is exactly, you could do it once. But if your tree service is centered around either applying a pesticide or like a deep root fertilizer to really build the soil profile, not only are you providing value to that plant and to that homeowner, but guess what? You're coming back year after year until the problem is solved or until you're no longer providing value to that homeowner. And those tree services with reoccurring revenue, they are valued so much higher.
Yeah, interesting, because the lifetime value of the customer just goes exponentially up the more you're spending time with them over the year or the years, right? As opposed to just cutting down on one tree.
Exactly. I mean, and look at that's true of everything. I mean, look at any subscription-based business model is where you're going to get the highest value. Whether you're ordering your vitamins online, just on recurring to get shipped to you every month, or you have a tree service that's doing the same thing. That's what's going to be attractive to investors or to people looking to purchase your company from you. I see it every man. I'd say the last, what have I been doing? The 6-8 years doing the B2B sales, the companies that are consumed by those national accounts that are drawn in the high price tags, they're at least 50, maybe even more, 50, 60% liquid services, renewable services.
Interesting. So let's say I have a tree service company that I built up, just got one truck myself trimming trees, and then, get a little bit more known in the area, get somebody to help me. We do some simple removals. It's transactional. How do I get that mindset of reoccurring revenue in my company? Because, I talk to a lot of tree service companies, and a lot of them do the cutting and the trimming and so forth, but not a lot of them seem to do things like the plant healthcare.
So it has to make sense for them. And I don't want to come on the show and try to sell people on it necessarily, but I will come on and help educate. So
right.
If you're a business owner and you recognize that there is that opportunity for those services to be done in a day that operate at 80 to 90% margin with one person that reoccurs year after year, then you've got to educate yourself. You've got to understand that there are opportunities. And there are so many companies out there, and it's not going to fit their business model or what's going to define them as success, because some do like doing the nastiest removals. You want to do that that crane job, cottonwood, multi-stem hazard, have it. So this message probably isn't for them. Okay. So if people were gonna see the opportunity and they wanted to take it, getting mentored by somebody and learning about those opportunities that are on site are paramount. They're absolute paramount. Find somebody, find some resource. Your local department of ag, your local ISA chapter. There are universities and plant diagnostic labs everywhere in every state, in every market that would love to help you do that. But once again, it's got to be a good fit. If your business model is in fact to move into liquid services or to find something a little more tangible, better on your body, better on your bank account, it might be a direction worth exploring.
And so I guess this pertains a lot to your work with ArborJet. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently I'm a technical rep for ArborJet. So yes, it's sales, but not really. It's more of a technical information. How do we advise people to make the right decision? And then the compensation takes care of itself. So I travel most of the Western states, except for Texas, Nevada, and California, and Hawaii, covering plant healthcare. Business owners call me up, or municipalities call me up and say, hey, we're looking to start treating for bark beetle or boring insects or whatever they have. And then I kind of go down the rabbit hole of, okay, well, what's the pest? Okay, what's the product? What's the treatment method? And I help them build calendars, but they have to get licensed first if they're not already. So depending on what your business model is, and if you do want to go down the chemical pathway or the products pathway, making sure you know the proper licensure is also really big, because if you do your research and find out that it's not something you want to go into because you don't want to jump through hoops, you don't want to put in the time, totally fine. You can help trees by doing proper pruning and removal of dead or diseased limbs. You can do air spade or air knife work. And in most states, you can do soil fertilizer conditioning without actually needing a license. And those are all forms of plant health care, and they're all gateways into the liquid services. Right. So, and part of what I do as well with ArborJet, not only do I teach people about tree injection and building plant healthcare programs, but I also do a lot of technical support. A lot of, hey, there's this new pest or this new disease. What's the solution for it? And then we have an R&D team based out of Boston that travels all over the world, actually. And we start playing around with potential solutions. Then we work through universities to kind of streamline those solutions and make them available to the public.
Is there a lot of new stuff coming into the States? That's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question. So in the world that we live in today, everything's so interconnected, right?
Yeah.
Most people are familiar with emerald ash borer and spotted lanternfly, but there are things that get brought into Hawaii or California or Florida every single day. Most of this stuff gets stopped at the port of entry. Most of it. But occasionally there are little insects and diseases that manage to make their way, especially in a state like California, out of the port of entry, maybe into a farm stand or whatever. And then they can kind of hop and move into the local ag businesses or the local urban forest and take off if they're not controlled. That's probably about all I should say about California, so I don't get sued. That's a tricky state.
Didn't hear that here.
But anyhow, so
that's interesting.
New insects and diseases are arriving every day. It's just, can they grow? Can they thrive?
Yeah.
Can they reproduce? And is it of enough economic value to where we need to snuff it out with either pesticides or there are some natural biological controls too for a lot of these things. Does it make sense to do that financially, or is it something that's just going to kind of work its way through?
And I was curious when you were talking about plant healthcare or liquid services not being applicable for every tree service company. Why? I mean, in my mind, any recurring revenue is good revenue. Why would somebody not want to get into this?
So somebody might not want to get into liquid services, spray work, because they don't find it sexy. That they don't.
Fair point.
I mean,
fair point.
A 25-year-old me would have looked at it and said, "Oh, if I don't have the 660 or the 88 steel with the 4-foot bar on it, I don't want it. I don't want to do any of that chemical stuff."
Yeah, fair.
But the older we get and the more opportunity that we realize, it's like, you know what? This shoulder doesn't work. I've got something pinched in my neck. I blew out my back a couple of years ago. That's not sustainable. But man, I can lift a 1-gallon hand can and spray the bottom 4 feet of trees pretty sustainably. And I'm only mid-30s, upper 30s.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm old, so I'm thinking about it. There you go.
You're not old. Seasoned. You're seasoned.
Seasoned, yeah, sure.
But here's the other thing too is, and that's part of. I'm not trying to push the plant healthcare agenda on people. I'm really not.
I'm genuinely curious. Yeah,
we were. Joe and I, my partner from the Discovering Forestry Podcast, and I got to speak at TCI Expo, and there were people in that room that had no idea what plant healthcare or liquid services even were. So they didn't even know to ask the question.
Really? Ooh.
Yeah. And I thought it was,
Wow.
yeah, I thought it was just common practice. Thought everybody knew about spraying trees and fertilizers and things like that.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people. And here's the other thing too about even an expo or a conference like that is the tree industry is massive. And it's such a small percentage of tree services that actually can show up, whether it's financials or maybe they don't even know about it, to things like Expo, like TCI Expo and your local ISA chapters. It's kind of cool, and it keeps it fresh. So I'm not having the same. I'm not having an apple scab conversation with 10 different business owners a day. You know, we're trying to do a little more qualifying than that, and make sure that people are asking the right questions and that it's a good fit. And it's not a good fit for everybody. But here's the other thing. Once again, coming back to that first question you asked about success, a successful tree service, a successful business model is the ones that realize that there's so much that they don't know are the ones that are generally going to be set for growth, because they have that mindset of, you know, this is the way my dad's always done it and he owned the business, but I understand that there's a lot more that we never did or I didn't know about. And I do think that's worth mentioning too. It is, you got to get exposed to it. And with social media, with your podcast, with shorts, with our podcast, we're now able to cast a larger net out and introduce these topics to a lot more people. But yeah, we still get people at almost every show that, you know, oh, are they still spraying for the beetle? Well,
Yep. That's curious. So actually, I mean, you're saying success is actually having a growth mindset and willing to look at developments and what's happening, and if it's appropriate to you, taking advantage of that instead of just following the old ways. Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
Or maybe for some people, success for them is holding on to the old ways.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Again,
nothing wrong with that.
If it works for you, it works for you, and that's the only thing that really matters, right?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, are you healthy? Are you having a good life? And
you've got to be the one to look in the mirror at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. I try not to, but. So, tell me about Discovering Forestry Podcast. I am, again, you're a podcast guru. You and Joe. We should have Joe here as well, I feel, but
you'll have to bring him on for another episode.
May have to do that. Yeah, may have to do that. But yeah, really interested in the podcast and where that came from and what you're doing and where you're going with it. Because, I mean, you were a big hit at the TCIA Expo there, right?
Well, we had fun. I don't know if we were a big hit.
I missed the fun. I wish I was there.
I know you had a lot. I
was lying on the floor wondering where my booth had gone.
You had a lot going on, and it was a good hit. It was fun. So Joe and I started the podcast. Man, this was the heart of the pandemic. So it was summer of 2020. I was driving through Nebraska because I had that as part of my territory at the time, listening to a different podcast in the tree space. And I think at the time there was only one. There was only one. And it was very climber focused, which is not a bad thing, but that's just the way it was. And anyhow, I called Joe up and I was like, man, you and I get to talk to so many people, PhDs, business owners, climbers, plant healthcare technicians, research assistants. We're talking to the owner of Arborware, like we're texting with him on a Tuesday night. Like we get to have so many cool conversations. I think there's some value in bringing this to people. What do you think? And Joe was like, oh my gosh, let's do it. Who naturally, who else is podcasting? Because what's a podcast and who else is doing it?
Yes.
That's a poke at his age for if you didn't
Love
pick
it.
up. So I introduced podcasts and I told him there's one that's going on right now. I think it was actually based out of the UK as well. I don't know if they're producing episodes. I don't think they have in a
Oh, I
while.
think I've seen that one, or I've heard of it. Isn't it somebody can send us a message to the tree climber guy?
Yeah, you're right. It's
The
the Tree Climber podcast.
I came across that. Yeah.
So shout out to him or them, or if you're putting episodes out anymore, good on you. But Joe and I looked at that and we said, well, that's part of the industry. That's a big part of the industry. How do we take that and pivot it to the side, pivot it to what we're interested in? And yeah, Joe's whole theme, his whole mindset with the show is, how do we bring value to our listeners and bring the tree care industry together and raise the bar for everybody that's listening to the show? And part of that is because we are bringing on people that are talking. We brought you on to talk about SEO, and we've had folks come on and talk about digital marketing. We've had people come on and talk about agronomy, which is soils. You get a kick out of this. We had a wine cooper from Napa, California come on and talk about why they pick white oak and the science behind it. And this guy's not a scientist. He's a wine dude.
That is cool.
But it's like, these are questions and curiosities that Joe and I have. And here we are 5 years later, a couple 100,000 downloads, plays. We were number one for a long time. But because our cadence has dropped off, I've got 2 kids and a couple jobs. Joe's got at least a job or 2 and a couple kids. We've dropped our cadence off to every other week. So other podcasts are going to take, main stage. They are going to overtake us and how much content and media gets put out there. And we're okay with that. We're totally okay with that. Like like I said, we have now, and somebody just told me this, and kind of put it this way, is we have a catalog of well over 200 episodes, like 215, 20, somewhere in there. But 200 episodes, most of them have guests on them. And these are going to live. I don't know where podcasts live, but they're going to live.
Yeah.
And that's our impact, Graeme. That's where Joe and I thought we were going to find success, is having a lasting impact, bringing people together. And that's the most rewarding part, is knowing that my 3-year-old boy, or my 10-month-old daughter, if they want to go in the tree industry and they find our show somewhat inspiring, or maybe a listener can take a nugget out just every week, just one tiny nugget, and change either how they're doing business, how they're treating trees, or maybe even how they look at the world that we live in, it's huge.
That is huge. Yeah, I love the romantic idea that a podcast is out there and people can find it in the future. And you never know who it's going to help. To me, that's, even one sentence in a podcast can help somebody. That's amazing.
Totally. And it's, Joe and I had Nick Bonner from treestuff.com. He came on our show a couple months, maybe a year ago. I don't know, time flies. But he left me with something that, I reflect on often, and that is, we're lucky enough to be in the tree industry. Don't let it define who you are. He goes, it's a 40-hour-a-week job. Chances are you've got somebody else's name on your shirt, whatever. He goes, take pride, do the best in what you're doing, but have something outside of it. And I that, as a new dad, that couldn't resonate with me more, because it's like, believe me, I'm a tree geek. I'm one tattoo, shy of being the biggest tree nerd you've ever met. But at the end of the day, you see me at 5:05, chances are I'm wrestling with my toddler in a snowbank, or chasing him, looking for our next adventure. So I bring all the energy and enthusiasm that I can, but man, when the day's over, phone's off.
And tree people work a lot. And they work a lot of hours. Because we come across folks all the time. We're like, what are your hours? 24 hours a day. We're here whenever you need us. I'm like, I don't want to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning for an emergency, really.
Well, and good for you if that's your business model. Good for you.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I'm with you too. It's like, you know, the business model that in my ideal world that I would create for myself would look very different than being open 24 hours. And I realize a lot of companies put that on Google just so they, you know, if somebody does have a weekend emergency or an after hours emergency, they'll call. And that's if that's part of how you want to position your business, man, God bless you. I hope you can deal with those hazardous situations, and I hope your partner at home, or whatever that looks like, is supportive in your efforts for that too.
And that circles right round to your original statement about what's success, right?
That's it.
Which is a great, beautiful, round cycle.
Yeah, and it's success as a business, success as a tree care professional, success as a dad or a husband or whatever. What does success mean to you? And you know, one of the things that I always, when you get this far into a conversation with somebody, you start to kind of talk about maybe some regrets or some inflection points or pivot points in lives.
That was my next question. Good job, Korey.
Let's
talk about those.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those for a second. Regrets and pivot points. Tell us.
Yeah. Mistakes. Well, it's funny because part of me looks at mistakes as opportunities to learn, right? And that's,
yes,
you got to have that
100%.
growth mindset and have that perspective. Otherwise, it's just a dark place to live. I've made mistakes. Oh, for sure. When I was doing business to consumer, so working for a tree service, selling jobs, I've tanked estimates and proposals. Just they didn't come in, right? We were trying to target $150 per man hour return on removals. It came in at like $50 because of some verbiage in the proposal, or I didn't see something, or I didn't spec the right equipment. I've made those mistakes. I've also made mistakes of not asking, of just thinking that I knew or thinking I could find out, and spent so much time and energy and effort grinding that wheel, just trying to find the solution. Whereas there'd be somebody like a mentor like you,
right,
or Joe or myself that could answer that question with a quick text.
That's wild.
And
got to be humble. Got to ask for help.
Got to ask for help. And the final thing is that I would say on making mistakes, and I see this every day with people I work with my past career, with my current career, but with my past, hanging on to a toxic employer or having a position in a company that either you don't feel is safe, you don't feel is appreciated, or that toxic employer that maybe the culture is just different, where it's not a good fit. And knowing when to hold them, knowing when to fold them, but you learn, you will learn from those. But man, where I see people stick around and really bang their head and get miserable is when they have that kind of a situation.
Sure. Yeah, I think we've all been there. For sure.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
It's difficult to, in that situation, it's difficult to have confidence in yourself that you can go find something else though, right?
Yeah, normally I would say yes. But if you have enough experience, man, the tree industry we need passionate bodies. We need passionate people. I mean,
yeah.
There's a keynote presentation that I've given a few times now where it talks about how many job vacancies are not filled versus the ones that are posted in the tree space. And you're needed, man. So if and females, if you're at a place where you don't feel it's safe, you don't feel you're appreciated, you don't feel like you're making it. And when I say you're making it, maybe you're not making enough per man hour per year, dollar wise, or maybe you're not making it to softball practice. If you feel you're not making it and you could do better somewhere else, go and get it. And if you need help finding an employer, I know people that would love to have you, especially if you bring that growth team mindset, that how do we progress this thing into the future mindset.
Wow.
You've
Cool.
got a future.
Yeah. It's interesting actually because I look at the forums and things like that, and I see a lot of people asking for help, and I wonder why there is so much opportunity for getting a job in the tree service, or why, like, do employers lose people easily? Goes back to a conversation we had before in another episode where we're talking about winter in the north and shutting down the business. Or is it just lack of people? I'm curious.
Yeah, that might be a whole nother episode. You know, is
Yeah.
it lack of
A lack of skills, lack of qualifications,
and lack of people wanting to work, you know, not to rip on the next generation, because I truly don't believe that that's the case, because I have met Gen Zs.
you usually rip on the older guys.
I do. Yeah, I will. Yeah. Well, Grab, they don't listen to podcasts, so we can. Once again, kidding. Totally kidding.
Totally kidding.
But here's the thing is do people want to work? I mean, a lot of people that come out of college with $200,000 in debt or whatever, and then they see, oh, I can make $18 an hour, you know, working my butt off, breaking my back. What's the future in that for me? Do I really want to do that, or do I want to type at a computer, find out investments, yada yada yada? I see more.
There's no future in that either.
Not currently for me, but yeah, and you got a lot of people that, you know, age a certain generation of pioneer tree people, are legends of arboriculture, that are retiring. Who's gonna pick up the saw after them? Oh.
It sounds like a massive opportunity if you were business minded, or if you learn, you know, you look into the future, you get those skills, you see where you could be, right? You could be, I don't know, you could be the owner of one of the biggest tree companies in the world in the future. Who knows?
If you wanted that, you know, once again, I would define success as having the freedom and flexibility to work when I wanted to, for whom I wanted to.
Yeah.
And our listeners may or may not resonate with that, but it's so funny because the opportunity is there for those that apply themselves, for those that want it. And here's the other thing too, is there's so much information online. There's so much on YouTube. There's so much you can Google. Your podcast, our podcast, a couple other ones. I mean, when people ask me often, how can I learn more about something? The best answer would be either find a mentor or dive into these podcasts and give it your all. If I wanted to learn more about personal finance, I would probably find either a family member or a friend, and I would pick their brain on it, and then I would spend hours on YouTube. I have. But that's where I would go, and that's what I would encourage people to do as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. So what's next for you? Keep doing what you're doing? More podcasts?
More podcasts. I'm having too much fun. And
Good.
And the kids.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, we're having too much fun not to do the podcast thing. I think we've got a big lineup coming up for 2026. Normally we hit trade show season, and then we get reacquainted with people that we see on the same speaking tour as us. So we'll bring them on as guests. You know, there's always something new and changing in the industry, whether that's how we're applying pesticides or new insects or diseases that come in, or just really listening and being present is kind of something that I'm going to try to do better for myself in 2026. Listen, be present. Everybody's got a story to tell. Everybody's got something you can learn. You just got to show up and listen.
That's awesome. Korey, we're reaching the top of the hour now, so we're going to end it there, but hopefully we can do this again soon. Where can people find you?
You could find me on LinkedIn or on Facebook, Korey Lofy. That'll bring you up to either. If you want to check Joe and myself out on our podcast, just type into Spotify or Apple or whatever you stream on, Discovering Forestry Podcast. You'll see Joe and my face pop up. And then if people really do want to get in touch with me a little quicker and you're not on any of those platforms, just a simple email to klofy@arborjet.com. We'll make sure we put those in the show notes.
Awesome. Absolutely will do. Yeah. And if anybody listening or watching this podcast has not checked out Discovering Forestry, they absolutely should, because it's a fantastic show.
Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for having me on the program. I mean,
this was awesome. Despite our possible internet connection failings.
That's why you have a producer. It can't all be easy.
No, that's right. That's awesome. Okay, well, we should definitely talk again in the future on either here or another podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, and best of luck out there.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Korey.